This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Monday night, it's RaceSpotTV. Welcome back here to Loudon, New Hampshire for round number 8 in the series. And a special event today because today is the 5th anniversary of Monday Night Skippys on RaceSpotTV. We even have the venerable Will Vincent joining us once again in the booth for tonight, as this is a pretty big milestone, of course. We've had some big seasons, we've had some big champions, but 5 years of probably the most enduring series in the UK&I club on iRacing, and one that's firmly in our hearts here at RaceSpotTV. Well,
yeah, it is. I do need to do one correction. We're not WWE, Rachel. You don't have your first wedding anniversary on your wedding day. It's a 5-year special, not the 5th anniversary.
Sorry, I do apologise.
But yeah, it's been great, and I was doing a little bit of stat counting over the last couple of days. 5 years was technically yesterday. We had Sunday Night Skippys, of course, so that was great. Skippys on our 5 years of doing this. But first race we did on RaceSpotTV was won by Sebastian Job. That wasn't, however, the first broadcasted Monday Night Skippy event, of course. BSR, British Sim Racing Company, they were doing coverage for about 6 months beforehand. And in terms of the races, of course, we've had people we've seen for years, like Swahim Atanides, Simon Edwards, of course. We saw a couple of people come back last time out, of course, but we also even had a Formula 1 driver winning in this series once, Rachel, in Lando Norris.
Yeah, we certainly did. Lando definitely raced in this series. There's so many names. This is one series that has definitely attracted the casual through to the expert, the real racer through to the sim racer, and it has welcomed all of them equally with open arms. A fantastic series that really embodies British club racing, I'd say, Linus. It's one of those, everyone gets to take part and everyone has their own race.
Yeah, it really is. It's people with all different skill classes, skill groups, and people from all over the region. Me being the only one not being from the UK in this series, not allowed to race, obviously, but everybody has racing all across the field. It never disappoints. Always good racing, always good coverage, always something to talk about, and well, I think we're in for just another amazing race here today.
I think we certainly are, of course, and I actually remember calling 1 or 2 races with the BSR crew back in the day when this was on their channel, and then Will saying it's now 5 years of RaceSpotTV coverage. That makes me feel pretty old, as I think I've been there for most of it, Will. I think that could be accurate to state, but either way, it's a series that hasn't lost its allure. It's been something that's always been Monday nights in my eyes.
Yeah, it has been, and you're right. 5 years is a very long time. I'm actually trying to do the maths. Along with the Neo Endurance Series and our World Championship stuff and the World Cup of iRacing, this is one of the longest tenured series that we have done on iRacing. So it's no mean feat at all. By the way, we've got Claire Hughes on track, currently leading in terms of qualifying right now. And of course, we've had some great memories over the years as well, Rachel. The one that there's 2 that stand out to me. One very recent, one not so. The most recent one, of course, was the eerie dark race we had at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course recently. That's on one end of the crazy scale. The other end of the crazy scale, you're going to have to remember back to when we used to have those 3-wide lap-long battles at Sonoma Raceway.
Oh gosh, Sonoma always been one of those tracks that's been truly incredible for this car and series, but oh yeah, I remember some of those, and I definitely remember the should we say the blackout event, which took place kind of recently. Let's do a little bit of maths. This is going to be 260 races. And if you think of that as 12 races per season. That's a lot of seasons.
Yeah, it is. And of course, we've taken the odd week out for week 13, but at the same time, we used to have 2 races on a week 13 in UK and Ireland, so it's evened itself out over time. So the championships have been fantastic as well. We've had a number of big names, and what we've seen, Rachel, over time is the fact that we see the same group of drivers running inside the top 10, but 1 or 2 every season starts to trickle their way forward. Most recently, of course, it's been Claire Hughes over the last 6 months or so. But before that, I mean, one of the big stories back a couple of years ago was Fahim Atanides making his charge up the rankings here, and we saw what he did in this series on Monday night started to translate to performance in other series. So himself, the likes of Sebastian Job as example, World Championship drivers, and other people who now take part in the World Championship series on iRacing.
Absolutely. And Fahim, I remember back when he first started, he won't forgive me for saying this, but back when Fahim started, he was Fahim crashed at Anides. He used to start out every race qualifying great and would somehow find a way to bend his race car within the first 2 or 3 laps, and it was always a fatal incident, of course, as his race was over. But he went from being crashed at Anides to wind at Anides, if that's not even the right way of phrasing it, but I'm going to say it anyway. He became one of the absolute tour de force drivers in this series, and a driver people have aimed for. And you mentioned, of course, Claire Hughes. You have to, of course, mention Anthony Catt and Lee Anderson, who've been breakthrough drivers this season as well. We've had some great runs from them. And it's nice to see people like, Blake Townend is in the race tonight. There we go. That's one that I've not seen a name of in a while. George Streetley qualified in 4th right now, an OG driver in this series from the beginning, actually.
Yeah, indeed. Blake Townend, great to see him back. I know he said he was going to dust off the racing pedals and come racing. So he's qualified about mid-pack right now, 21st place here, Linus. But it seems to be the people have come out, of course. This New Hampshire Money Speedway even, it is limited in number of grid stalls available. And we looks as though we've almost filled all of them up with a minute of qualifying.
Yeah, we got 39 people here at the moment, and I believe it's 40, possibly 43 for this track, so it's not going to be quite full, but nearly, and 1 minute left of qualifying, so I think we're going to stay at 39, but it's still a great turnout as always for this event, and same kind of people at the top, Hughes, Catt and Edwards, the top 3 in the championship. They've been top 3 pretty much all season long, and that's where they are intending to stay by the looks of it in qualifying here, so Streetley in 4th, and then Lee Anderson, another one who's improved very much just over this season alone, in 5th. So he's going to be one to look out for the rest of the season, I believe.
Absolutely, of course. Look at those times. You did mention like Hughes and Catt. Of course, championship rivals here, Will. And these guys weren't really top 10 runners a season ago or 2 seasons ago. This has been how dynamic things have become. Of course, the car has changed so much in the years we've been covering this.
Yeah, indeed. So 15 seconds remaining in qualifying. But you're right, it's a close grid. Of course, what would Monday Night Skippys be, Rachel, without our 1 second bracket? 14 drivers today in that 1 second bracket. Darryl Taylor qualifying in 14th place, but it's time for the grid.
It is indeed. Well, there we go on pole tonight. 1 minute 8 seconds, .338 for Claire Hughes. He'll start on the front row tonight. With him is Anthony Catt, his championship rival. 3rd place, Simon Edwards with George Streetley in 4th. 5th place, Lee Anderson with Nicholas Vaughan Roberts in 6th place. Matt Cox, Ewan Patterson, Andrew S. Leach, and Clark Williams in 10th. Behind them, it's Ian Halliburton with Mick Watson in 12th. Stefan Nobis, Darryl Taylor, Daniel Tufts, Simon Maltby, Peter Cowan, James Booth Jones in 18th, with Tony Stack and John Torpy in 20th. Rest of those results on your screen. In fact, this is how far back they start. The last few drivers are in the infield section behind the entry to pit road, so not a long front row here for, of course, a standing start. Not normally what happens at New Hampshire. This is home to NASCAR, so these hallowed stands will not be filled with the roar of V8s tonight, but more the incessant whine of the Skip Barber engine here.
Well, but don't forget that 2011 IndyCar race. Move that block 225 and they restarted in the rain, the famous scene of the Willpower double bird.
Absolutely, yes. That's a race to remember, of course, as we get ready on the grid here. And, well, it might not be NASCAR, but we do get at least one of the NASCAR oval corners here. That's 1 and 2 in NASCAR parlance. Up at the south end of our circuit. I say up because it's up from the starting line, but it's actually down geographically. Hughes and Cat on that front row, and of course the NASCAR turn here making a big impact on the circuit, as is that first of a kind and probably most exclusive kind for a roval. A roval where the track goes outside the oval, not inside it. So yeah, we exit the safer barrier here from NASCAR and go racing outside the track. Waiting for those engines to start up here as we get ready. So we're about ready to go here, as we'll now find out as the cars will begin the process of getting this race underway. Engines rev. Green flag flies, we're away. It's a good start for your front four there, as behind them, Lee Anderson slots into position here as we go single file through 1 and 2 to start the race here. 13 corners on this track. 21 laps here tonight. The biggest challenge really braking for this very low speed chicane up to the exit from the oval circuit. A lot of problems going to happen here on the start of laps.
Straight away. Nicholas Von Roberts and Blake Town and Nick McCarron are all involved in that.
Yeah, we'll get a look back at that right now if we can. Absolutely massive incident there. Vaughan Roberts stepped out on his own, got sideways coming out of turn 2 into the outer barrier, comes back in, collects several cars, including Maltby. And I think you are right, the 57 car involved in that one there, Blake Townend's first race back, basically over already.
Not a good start there for Blake Townend, unfortunately, but at the front of your field, we've got the battle going on. We had a bit of a four-car breakaway, Rachel, at the start of this one. Claire Hughes, Anthony Catt, Simon Edwards, and George Streetley. Now, Edwards, of course, has the advantage over a lot of these drivers, Rachel. He runs double duty. He runs in a 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulations, which, of course, is here on RaceSpotTV. And he did a pretty grueling race yesterday. He did 30 laps yesterday. He's got 21 laps to do here today. So he knows pretty much this track off the back of his hand by now. And of course, the new viewers watching, it's also worth noting, Rach, that these drivers take part in a number of iRacing official races throughout the week as well. So they're not coming into this race, or a lot of them aren't coming into this race that cold.
Absolutely not. Most of them, of course, this comes at the end of the iRacing week, which is why our final race of the season actually comes at the end of week 13, not the start of it, because of the way things tied over here. But as things do fly, Claire Hughes right now leading the way. Anthony Catt second place, along with Simon Edwards behind him. Edwards a little bit slow on the qualifying recently, Linus. He's been not quite as quick as the rest of them, but he seems to kind of recover it towards the end of the race. But he's had a little challenge or two recently with traffic, shall we say.
Yeah, he definitely has, but he's done it well. Obviously, again now Edwards up to second place. Sorry, third here as well. Behind Anthony Catt, he's going to be looking at him though into turn number 1. He's going to move up the inside and see if he can get it done through NASCAR turn 1. I believe he is, unless Catt can get a massive run on the outside. But he's going to get a bit sideways, so Edwards getting that work done, moving up into second here now, putting his eyes on Leah Hughes. But like I said, he's struggled a bit in qualifying, not had that many pole positions as we're used to seeing him have. So always getting his work in every single race, but he's doing well with it.
Certainly is, as we'll keep an eye on how this one goes forwards. But right now the front pack consists of about 6 cars right now, back to Matt Cox in that last position there of that group. The whole group of them trying to just break away now from the second pack, consisting of Patterson and Halliburton running as the 2. Clark Williams back in 9th place is just a little bit back from them, ahead of Andrew Leach and Mick Watson leading that next, well, involved in that next group I should say, along with Stefan Nobis and a few others, to name but a few. Out front we'll be coming around to finish lap 4 here, Will, and or I should say lap 3 onto lap 4. Loudon's definitely a unique circuit for this series in this car.
Yeah, it is, and it's changed a little bit in terms of dynamic, of course, ever since we had the newest tyre update here to the Skippys on iRacing. So the drafting that you see is less than it used to be. What we'd often see, Rachel, is these drivers compacting together through NASCAR turns 1 and 2 into this left and right hand curve down at turn number 3. You don't see as much of that now, although Lee Anderson and George Streetley have been battling close together. What we're not seeing is the drivers going 3, 4, 5 wide through the oval. So as a consequence of that, it's a very different race now. But what I have seen between last night and tonight is a lot of drivers getting snapped loose with the centre of NASCAR 1 and 2.
Yeah, the car's a lot twitchier, of course, and it's a lot more, should we say, off-throttle loose like it used to be in the old days, so it's probably bringing back some of those old-school drivers, but I'm not sure if you remember it, Will. I think Lena's probably will. I recall a race here at Loudon in this series where that's turn 4, shall we call it, the little right-hander there that turns you out of the oval. A crash involving at least the top 20.
Yeah, I've seen that before.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I've seen that before. It's one of the things, actually, in terms of the club layouts, this is probably one of the most difficult. The only other club layout I think is more complicated is probably the Sebring modified layout, when it does actually go to about a car width and a half. But yeah, you get it wrong here, Linus, turn 4, and you're not only going to ruin your race, but quite often that of many drivers behind.
Yeah, that is a very, very hard corner to get right. If you come in a little bit too fast, if you clip those tires, they're going to bounce right back out into the racing line ahead of everybody, and the hole in the wall is not very big, so you're just going to stack up everybody, and we've had that once or twice here. So thankfully we had not had it today, as we just had a car go around there. That's Steve Heffett, actually, I believe, who's going to have to get it turned around. Maybe that was Dowson.
Yeah, Dave Kirkland had a bit of a moment. We're watching it on the replay of him now into turn 4, and he just tagged from behind. And, well, luckily, Rachel is able to kind of get that car 90 degrees perpendicular to the corner. But, yeah, then Hefford also looped it just after one of those little sympathy spins.
Yeah, they tend to happen a lot at places like this, especially where there's not a lot of room, of course. But one thing I'm definitely seeing this time around, well, I think this is the first time on the new tyres we've been to Loudon, just how spread out these guys are, of course. There doesn't seem to be much catching at all. We're seeing 4 to 5 car lengths between the front 3 now. They've broken away from Streetley behind them a little bit, but Hughes, Edwards and Cat, apart from Edwards making that swap of position on Cat, they just appear to be so strung out right now, and kind of gains appear to have been dramatically reduced.
Yeah, as I mean, there is one battle going on inside your top 10 right now. That's between Kane Halliburton and Ewan Patterson. But we saw this yesterday, and we did expect to see it again here today. Yesterday, we did see your top driver start to break away pretty early. The dirty air, it's one of these things here, Rachel, that the dirty air will hurt you on the outside roval, which by roval standards in North America, it's got far more elevation changes, far more blind apexes than almost anything else. I think Charlotte's probably the only one that comes anywhere near close to the elevation. But then on the course on the front straightaway, you do want the toe, but the toe's not as prevalent as it's been in the years previous.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, that toe has been a major change in how these cars run, of course. Remember them having to kind of offset during runs because of the potential to overheat in that draft. The draft appears to have almost gone now. So we've seen a major change in how these cars race, especially at places like, well, the long straights of Monza. Dramatically different to how we used to see them, where there was 2 or 3 passes on a straight. Now, completely different, and I'd be just to see what the Nordschleife is like with the new car, but that would probably be a little bit high in body count.
Indeed. Go on, Linus.
Yeah, I think that will Nordschleife will definitely be an interesting race, especially we've seen a lot of people this year go off in qualifying as well, so getting a qualifying lap around Nordschleife will definitely be interesting. At the moment here, though, top 3 still they use Edwards and Cat, top 3 championship contenders, not doing too much, sitting with about half a second between each other, matching each other's lap time. Cat was fastest that last time around us, so he's making a little bit of a gain on Edwards, but not too much. The whole top 10 pretty much spread out at the moment, and this is probably the most spread out Skippy race I have ever seen.
It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I'll come back into commentary for one day only, and all of a sudden the race is strung out a bit like a cheese string. And I mean, we have got Claire Hughes has actually dropped back a little bit, so now your top 3 are in the same shot, Rachel, as they head down towards the carousel.
Oh, well.
What?
We should say it's not busy, but look down here at Tufts and Cowan. These two going at it on the racetrack right now for the 11th and 12th spot. Had a bit of a swapsy doodle there in turn 4, now coming up through turn 6 here. The big 180 left in the outfield section here at Loudon, and behind them we can see Andrew Leach closing in too, and yes, that's the car in front of them, a 77 machine. Stefan Nobes had problems there, went wide off the track, and well, we'll lose at least 2 spots, possibly 3 if Leach can take advantage. The racing's on.
As Nova's down on the outside, then as they come back onto the Roval. Worth noting, Rachel, of course, Peter Cowan is a little bit a part of our history because Cowan was involved in BSR when they used to do the broadcasting of these races before we took over. So the heritage remains, and there's a look at the number 99 car coming past the stripe, now pulled out a bit of a lead over Daniel Tufts.
Yeah, it certainly has, of course. Peter Cowan's one of those old-school drivers who's been here the whole time, along with people like Tim Adcock, of course. Everyone remembers his brother, Stuart Adcock, being, of course, a multi-time champion, but Tim has been one of those venerable drivers that's been with this series the whole time, and has always performed very, very well, as he's actually now making a move on Barry West here in NASCAR 1 and 2. West goes all the way up into the dirty top of 1 and 2. I should explain that for the non-NASCAR viewers. Typically, the top part of that oval is incredibly dirty with debris and tire parts, so it ends up being quite a slippery slope once you start to move up here. In fact, maybe it's something the road drivers perhaps don't quite know, Will, that second lane is actually a faster way around this corner than hugging the bottom.
Yeah, it almost takes a bachelor of science to explain the banking at this track. It's not parabolic, it's not progressive, it is stepped banking. So as you go up the different lanes, it's almost like you drop up and down a curb. It makes it really hard to drive in both NASCAR and IndyCar, as Edwards, by the way, is right behind Claire Hughes again. But it's 4 over 7th grade, and the inside line, Rachel, the reason why it's so hard is that used to be the pit apron.
Yeah. Actually, you're right, yes, they've actually made it wider, but I believe it's actually slightly negatively cambered on that first lane, and then it goes to actual positive camber, of course, on the second lane. So that's something only the oval drivers would actually really know here, is that the second gear is where you want to be. It's actually faster, you can lean on that car more, and maybe that's why we've had some of these guys get a little bit loose in 1 and 2 here on the NASCAR circuit. You see them going right down to the bottom there, and they're washing out because it's wanting to throw them out, because that banking is actually throwing them away from it. It's like being in an inverted bank, and they don't seem to recognize that fact, as even guys further up the field. Oh, contact here! Just ahead of Tim Adcock. Oh, Radcock goes around as well in turn 4. And I believe this was Troy Goatley and Dave Kirkman as we come in here. And it's going to be Goatley who T-bones Kirkman there, and we get a sympathy spin from Tim Adcock behind them. And he just tries to duck out the way and ends up backwards. The other two carry on going, so unfortunately Tim was the unintended victim of that one.
Meanwhile, Simon Edwards is looking on the outside of Leah Hughes for the lead, but Hughes got the inside here around NASCAR 1 and 2. Edwards going to try and get the crossover on him, though, coming down into 3 and 4. He's going to have the outside for the 90-degree right-hander. He's going to break later, though. He's going to be able to move around him. He is. They're going to be side by side for the opening. Hughes still going to be on the inside. Cat coming up right behind him. Edwards still next to Hughes, though, so he's going to have the inside for the hairpin, and I believe Simon Edwards is going to take the lead for the first time in this race. He is. Good move there by Simon Edwards. Oh, as they made contact, and he's off into the barrier.
Oh, big problems there for Simon Edwards, and we'll just look back as that went through this. Yep, Claire Hughes. I'm not sure who to really blame for that one, but I think
Edwards
Hughes was
out.
kind of holding him down a little bit, perhaps, but Edwards came up the track a little bit more than he needed to, and into the tyre barriers there, and well, that'll be him out of this race, and this moves Streetley into a podium spot for this thing, if you can stay ahead here of Lee Anderson, Will.
Yeah, it is. We had a couple of replays. That's the last one on board then with Simon Edwards out of this race. That's going to be a big disappointment for him. But what we do have now, you're right, George Streetley in 3rd place in this race. He's got an advantage as well over Lee Anderson. The main reason for that is the fact that Anderson and Halliburton are going side by side as they work themselves now on the exit of NASCAR 2. You've got Kane Halliburton, and he's looking to the outside in towards turn number 3. The number 19 car able to swoop around the outside, Rachel, get that move over Lee Anderson in the pink 337.
Yeah, certainly is there, and Lee Anderson, of course, wanting to see he's got a podium opportunity here he could fight for, and we'll see if he can do just that. Kane Halliburton, though, ahead of him now, which puts him into a very interesting spot to be able to go after the likes of Lee Anderson in that group too. Streetley is now going to be under threat from those guys as, oh, Kane sideways there behind them. Claire Hughes and Anthony Catt now battling championship points rivals here for the lead in this one on lap 12 now of 21. This time across the line we will have, I believe, Will, 9 laps remaining here, and it's going to take all of them, I think, to resolve this.
Yep, past halfway distance now. 9 laps to go. Top 8 along the bottom of your screen with Claire Hughes leading by about a quarter of a second over Anthony Catt. The gap did come down. Hughes made a mistake a few laps back, and that's what allowed Edwards first to close up, and now Anthony Catt to be right behind as well. I'm not sure there's going to be any damage to Claire Hughes' number 42 car, but he's leading. Catt second, Streatley third, Halliburton fourth, and then Lee Anderson rounds out your top 5. Of course, Anderson in that battle, freeway battle, Halliburton ahead and Matt Cox behind. So after a very boring start to this race by our standards, Rachel, it's a little bit like a slow cooker. Things are starting to heat up.
Absolutely, always is. Monday Night Skippy sometimes is a bit of a, I'm trying to think of the correct word here. It's a stroganoff. You don't take it out of the pot straight away. You've got to let everything simmer and cook for a few hours before it's really ready to eat. And Monday Night Skippies, sometimes it's just right at the start, but it's always better at the end.
Sure,
God, that was a tortured metaphor.
Yeah, I'm thinking at this point, Linus, you're thinking I'd rather have meatballs than a stroganoff.
Yeah, probably, especially for Swede meatballs is probably the best to have here, but it's like Rachel says, it's usually, to me, it's very exciting at the start and then it gets stretched out at the end, and then at the very finish everything just blows up and everybody's side by side. But here we had a really slow start, and now Catt is right up the back of the use again, but he's not going to be able to make a move, so those two still going to be nose to tail as we go about 7 or 8 laps to go, 7 I believe it is. Battle for fourth though, Kane, Halliburton and Lee Anderson. Anderson is right up the back of him again. He's not going to be quite close enough for the hairpin, but he's definitely working on it. He's managed to stretch out the gap back to Cox again, who's now got Clark Williams all over him, and back in about 10th, 11th place. They're side by side again. That would be Tufts and Cowan. That's 10th and 11th actually, or 9th and 10th even. In front of him as Tufts runs into the back of Cowan, and Stefan Nob is able to hold on to 9th.
Oh, it's very busy racing back here, in fact, with Cowan and Tufts there. They are absolutely nose cone to bumper at this point in time. We've got the 34 behind them there. Tufts, we've got Nobis right ahead. Leach at the back of this group with a cautious James Ruth Jones watching on, along there with John Torpy. This could definitely be our battleground of the running order tonight, but it looks like George Street has been caught, who is running third. All of a sudden he finds himself in a podium spot he has to defend, and okay, Halliburton's looking aggressive here, Will. He is right on top of this, and so is Lee Anderson. Another point surprise this season.
Yep, but it's all aboard the Streatley train, because all of a sudden behind you got Kane Halliburton, Lee Anderson, Matt Cox, Clark Williams and Ewan Patterson all there in the gaggle of cars. So Streatley, his pace last time around, a 109.057. Everyone in that group behind him, Rachel, was substantially faster. So Streatley clearly made a mistake, and now he's paying the cost of that, because he's now got some very hungry race cars behind.
He absolutely has, but I think Kane has looked a little sideways in places trying to catch up, so possibly it's an unstable chase depending on how these guys are doing it. Could this be George racing to the bumper of the car behind him rather than the one in front? I think the gap up front is too unrealistic to catch here. Maybe he's basing his fight now on the guys behind him. Don't run faster than he needs to. Save some of his car and his own driving for when it's necessary. And look at this now. Kane Halliburton, look at the ground he's gaining on the outside there. Streatley, key example, Will, of why lane 2 is faster. He gets the overlap just by running a lane higher.
Yep, and he has got himself alongside, down the inside, in towards turn number 3, the right-hander. We don't classify the kink as a corner. He was able to block it out, but they're going to stay side by side as they work themselves now down towards the carousel, down at turn number 5. Now, Halliburton's got the inside line. It's banked in that carousel as well, Rachel. We don't often talk about it, so it does mean if you take the outside line, you can get a better run through the corner. What did happen, though, is that Streatley lost another position there, got all forms of loose to the centre of the corner, and Lee Anderson slipped his way past.
Yeah, it looks like he had the advantage early on, but he did bobble in the middle of the corner, like you said, and Anderson went round the outside there, took the next inside and shuffled past Streatley as he now finds himself in the middle of this group. But Halliburton reading the track beautifully there and taking that NASCAR line, which put him in that spot. Of course, you saw the massive overspeed he got. That was absolutely huge for that one. Nice bit of racing from these guys here, and of course the battle for third is still very much alive. Lee Anderson wants a piece of this.
He does. He's not giving up here. Halliburton going quick around the oval. Anderson not able to get the same run Halliburton did on the last lap, but here he's going to move to the outside. Instead, he's going to try and go around him. He's going to brake late, and if he can hold the outside around here, he'll have the inside for the hairpin, but he's obviously not going to be able to do that. Streetley's going to come back up the inside but now Anderson has the inside for the next corner, and there's side by side behind him as well, between Cox and Williams. So battles all the way through this group here, third down to about 8th, 9th position. Side by side now, Williams and Cox out of the hairpin, and Cox looks like he's going to have the overspeed, and he's going to pass Williams and move up into 7th.
Certainly trying to do just that, but it's not quite. He makes it through there just as they re-enter the oval part here of Loudon. And up front, Halliburton looking secure in 3rd right now. Lee Anderson trying to find an opportunity to gain some time here. Can he try and mirror what Kane did last time by? As a car goes wide and off there at the back of that train. Trying to work out who that was. I think that was Patterson, who just didn't... I can't tell what happened. I just don't think he decided to turn there. Got on the grass, hit some cones, and went spearing towards the safer barriers. As we can count him out of that group now, as Anderson and Streetley there right on top here of Kane, trying to make the run in for turn 4, but it's not going to be enough unless a big dive there by Anderson happens. That would have been a little too bold, I think, Cleaners, to try and dive even on lap 18.
Yeah, he's a little bit too far back there, and you definitely don't want to make contact in that corner. Well, you never want to make contact, but if you do it there, somebody's going to go in the tires, and everybody's just going to die pretty much. So good job by him getting that car stopped. It's going to open up the gap slightly for Halliburton though, but Lee Anderson obviously still going to have the draft when he come back onto the straight, and he's going to get right back up to him. Going to come down to 3 laps to go this time by Streetley. Is all over Anderson though. Is he going to try and make a move here? He's going to be really, really close over the bumps as to come across the oval into the last few corners here. He's going to try and set him up, and maybe he'll make a move for 4th place down into turn number 1 as they come around the pit wall here, and you can see just how close they squeeze to those tires. There's not a lot of space in between, and here comes Streetley to the outside. He's going to try the Halliburton line and go around Anderson around the outside, see if he can do that.
I like what Halliburton's doing there. He went right up to the safer barrier wheel on the outside and just swept it in and carried that momentum through the corner. Taking a big dive down that banking, which gave him a huge overspeed here, and Streetley undercut there, and that's got it interesting as it's now almost a 3 wide there. 2 wide behind there with Anderson and Streetley as they climb up the hill. Could Streetley hold on here and take that inside line? They're battling wheel to wheel, and I think it will be Streetley's line once they get to the carousel here. A little bit more banking on the outside there, but he clears him easily on the inside, secures that spot, and wow, no, the NASCAR line there by Halliburton, beautiful read.
Yeah, it is, and also it's worth noting the slow car like this, you want to kind of diamond off the corner if possible. And also what Halliburton was doing, which again, unless you're an oval driver, it's very hard to comprehend. Through the oval, if you go from the outside and then cut down to the inside, you actually start disrupting the air of the drivers behind you as they actually start to hit their own apex into the corner. So if you've got a bit of an advantage, it can be a useful tactic as they continue to scrap it up with 2 laps to go now. And Halliburton has pulled away from this group. He's now almost a second ahead of 4th place.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage, especially in a road race, to be that far ahead. And well, it's not over yet for 1 and 2 as Anthony Catt and Claire Hughes back to back here, and they've got traffic right ahead of them. And not an insignificant amount either. There's a couple of cars up there, 3 or 4 at least, 2 together right in front of them. Those, of course, are going to be Maltby, and I think Simon Edwards is also possibly right behind that group. Okay, not him then, but Simon Maltby is in fact there, so they'll have to take into consideration lap traffic here, which is never an easy thing to deal with, especially on a road course. And with the battle this close, it could be open to whoever gets there first. Here we go. Claire Hughes arrives at the first lap car, and they're just sitting on their line. They're entitled to, of course, but Linus, this is definitely going to interrupt things here. As look at the speed difference that we see from Cat.
Yeah, Kane got nicely out of the way there as soon as he got to the straightaway, though he can't do much, but here comes Cat around the outside on the white flag lap. It's 1 lap to go. Lee Hughes still in the lead, but Cat is coming around. He's going to do the undercut, or is he going to go around him? He's not going to be quite up next to him though, so he can still choose the line. He's going to have the overspeed. He's going to move for the outside as Hughes stays all the way up by the wall, forcing Cat to the outside, but Hughes is going to brake later, and he is going to clear him, coming back down to the hairpin here for the last time.
That was a bold line there by Anthony Cat, trying his best to hang on around the outside, but he kept it clean. The 2 of them made it through their 2 wide, which is already enough of an achievement at a track like this. Looking for an opportunity for overspeed here, though. He isn't quite in position to pass him. Let's see what he can pull out of the bag, though, of course, as we keep an eye on these drivers running around the field. Peter Cowan in a bit of a skerfuffle here with Andrew Leach Daniel Tufts and Ruth Jones there running down towards the bottom end of your top 20. And Leach gets the inside line as Cowan goes high. The battle for third place, though, over as Halliburton's lead hasn't really come down at all. Streetley still in fourth place with Lee Anderson in fifth there. Leach has now been passed back by Cowan. Tufts gets through as well. Nearly has a bit of contact there with Leach. And Ruth Jones has to back out just ever so slightly. Back to your leaders, of course, heading through 1 and 2. And the gap is, well, the race is actually over there for those two. I believe they've come through here. Thought we actually had an extra lap on that one, Will. But apparently that was that. They come to the line in the order they were racing and no change for them. Halliburton comes through in third place with Streetley holding fourth there at the end.
Yeah, I'll give you some good old-fashioned Marty Reid points to that one, Rachel. We're going to go on board with Paul Smith, of course, RaceSpotTV commentator. He's actually going to finish this one in Monday Night Skippies. You can, of course, catch him on his Twitch doing onboards of all of these races. But he's got Darryl Taylor just ahead of him. I don't think Paul Smith is going to be able to get up into P18, so number 33 car of Paul Smith will have to finish in 19th place, and then Tim Adcock just rounds out your top 20. Good number of drivers finishing on the lead lap here, Rachel.
Absolutely, yes. Out of 39 drivers, we had 27 on the lead lap. That's a pretty good number, to be fair, with only, I believe, here 5 retirements, so a good number for this track. And honestly, I think that's one of the very few times in 5 years I've missed the end.
Yeah. I can also say, Christopher Keeble, by the way, that car is completely bent out of shape. There's a tiny portion of the front nose there, providing some downforce, but everything else is gone.
Yeah, that looks like it came out of a wrecking yard. In fact, it looks like you drove it, Linus, and you saw a deer. Or a moose.
Well, no. I've never hit that, so that probably wouldn't be me. At least on a racetrack.
I you hitting a moose.
No. I missed it.
Subaru with a moose?
No, I missed it.
Oh, no, that was the fence you hit because you missed the moose. Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
exactly.
Either way, we're digressing slightly here, but Linus and a Subaru and a moose. It's a great story. As we wrap up this one, we'll go to your post-race results. Hughes comes home with the win tonight with Anthony Catt in second. The championship revival is still well underway here. In Halliburton in third with George Streetley in fourth. Lee Anderson fifth. Matt Cox is sixth place with Clark Williams, Ewan Patterson, Stefan Nobis and Peter Cowan in 10th. Behind them is Daniel Tufts, James Ruth Jones, Andrew S. Leach, John Torpy, Callum Barron, Matthew Delamain, Tony Stack, Darryl Taylor, Paul Smith, and Tim Adcock in 20th. Oh well, Monday Night Skippies, it never fails to surprise us. Little things happen every week and the big names become, well, they slide from memory as new names step up to the podium and they really show us how it's done here. And with this car changing, nothing's ever set in stone.
It isn't, and it's been a season of Claire Hughes trying to claw back from a tough start to the championship, but he's having a good run as of late. The remainder of the results there coming up on your screen. I'm sure Blake Townend will be a little bit upset with his return to Monday Night Skippies, only making it about 4 corners, unfortunately, but good race. And again, you know, we've got some new names in there, got some old names in there. I will say George Streetley did a hell of a job kind of re-attacking after he lost those 2 positions in the space of half a lap, Rachel. Yes, he didn't get onto the podium, but he was able to salvage 4th place from Lee Anderson and, of course, keep Anderson, Cox, Williams and Patterson behind him.
Absolutely was, of course, and a very, very difficult position for him to find himself in, but a rewarding one in the end. He actually had a great race today, and it's good to see people just adapting with the car and being able to present fantastic races. Linus, this championship has probably been the most open one we've had so far. Out of all the seasons, normally by about race 5, we've got things set up. We know who's likely to be the winner, but this one's so open, it's almost hard to tell.
Yeah, going into this, we had 3 drivers, 11 points separated now. Simon Edwards obviously didn't score any points in this one, I don't think, as he did not. Well, he finished in 28th, so that's not going to score him any points. And championship leader Lee Hughes, he won, so he's going to pull 5 more points than Anthony Catt, so it's 16 points between them, but one little mistake by Hughes, and Catt will be right up there, so still 2 guys battling with almost no points in between, so it's still anybody's race, and Cox is not too far behind in the battle with Anderson for 4th and 5th there either, so it's just as close as we like it.
Absolutely always is. A fantastic race here at Monday Night Skippies, and it has been, in fact, 5 years, Will, we've been covering this. It sounds amazing to think about it. And when you add up those races, that's not 260 races, I said, in 5 years. Not counting extras. That's a lot of races we've been here for. And you know what? I wouldn't change Monday nights for anything. For me, Monday nights is Skippy night.
Yep. Always has and always will be here on RaceSpotTV. I do want to say a couple of quick thank yous, of course, here on behalf of everyone at RaceSpotTV in my role as one of the executive officers and all that stuff. But first of all, big thank you to all the drivers that continue to make these races fun. And I mean, one of the durabilities of a series is the drivers that take part in it week in and week out, and we've seen series come, we've seen series go over the time, but we have 40 drivers here almost every single week, and that's great fun to watch. Also, want to say thank you to the 2 charitable partners that we've had in the 5 years. First of all, Shelter, who are a great charity supporting homelessness, people who are homeless in the UK, providing emergency accommodation and support, and also to the Calm Zone, who's been our most recent charitable partner, who are a great charity supporting male mental health, which is the biggest killer of men under the age of 45. And it was one of the things that people don't often remember, Rachel, is that we've never charged the community a cent for doing these races. We do it because we love it. And one of the things I love about iRacing more than anything else is the club spirit. Of course, we see it once a year, the World Cup of iRacing, where we see Finland and Diach kick our backsides, and us being 3rd or 4th every year in around Brazil and Australia, New Zealand. But, you know, the club spirit is what makes UK&I and Monday Night Skippies that good, and keeps the drivers coming back every week and keeps us coming back every week to commentate it. And it's the community that makes this happen.
It really is. And you know what? In so many racing games, it's so easy to get lost in, you know, people being crude in lobbies or bad behavior on racetracks, but iRacing is such a professional service, and the UK&I club is a phenomenal place. It's so active, it's so involved, there's so many people doing things for that club, and having had the pleasure of actually commentating club racing in the UK, this is probably the closest thing to it you'll find in sim racing ever. UK&I Club Series, they are a family, they are a club series, and they run like that. They run like people who are here for a good time, and they want everyone to have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, Germany, DH, they have some series. Of course, they have to drive around in high-powered Audis in order to get themselves their kicks. But, you know, it's been a one-car combination that's worked. And, of course, there have been other series over time, things like the NASCAR series we covered for a while here on Tuesday nights on UK and Ireland. But it's the Skippys. And also, the thing about it as well, Rachel, is that almost every driver on iRacing will run the Skippys at some point. You get out of the rookie class and you've got 2 options. You've got going into your tin top cars or going into open wheel cars. But even if you go tin top racing, you will probably still end up driving a Skippy at some point. And what that means is almost every driver who's been a member of Club UK and Ireland at some point has stepped into this car. And it's not just about the races, it's about the racing, the development of drivers, and the opportunity for drivers to actually race in a manner which isn't about iRating. It's not about big cash prizes, it's about developing talent. And yeah, I joked earlier on, we had Lando Norris win a race in this series, but we've had so many drivers win races here. I mean, let's take Sebastian Job, of course. He's now part of one of the biggest sim racing teams in the world at Red Bull Racing Esports. But actually, he cut his teeth with us on Monday nights. And a lot of what you see Sebastian Job doing now in things like the Porsche Esports Super Cup, he learned here.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And you know what? It's been a pleasure to share the booth here with yourself, Will, for so many years, of course, and Linus for so many years too. You've been a huge part of this, even though you are Swedish, of course, and you're the only person at UK&I Skippys who isn't actually from the UK&I, but of course you have family here and you spend a lot of time in this country. I like to think this series has a lot of meaning to you as well as us.
Yeah, I've been here, I don't know how long I've been commentating on this, but I think it's 2 or 3 years at least, and it's been a great experience, and I'm hoping we'll keep covering this for as long as I'll stay on iRacing, which will probably be until I'm about 70.
2031 for me, so we've got a while to go.
Put it this way, I keep my iRacing sub added up annually because of Monday Night Skippies, and because I get to come here and commentate this every week. I don't race anymore. I don't get a chance to. I've got so much other stuff going on with YouTube and with Twitch that I barely have time. But you know what? I always make time for Monday nights because this matters, and This is fun.
Thanks also to Connery Maddock, of course, who commentated the series for so many years. Jake
did,
Sperry
yes.
did a number of races. I've got a feeling...
Hugo as well, don't forget. We have to cover for Hugo.
Yeah, Hugo, of course, is our Brazilian partner, covering the series over when I'm not around or when I want to take a break, especially when I used to have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays all in one go. But I think we've had only one other non-British commentator, and I think that was Randy Chenov. He did one race with me. Once.
I believe he did, and I think he even produced one when I was going to do it with Venus actually as well. So, yeah, it's Randy's a special star on RaceSpotTV. I love having him around.
Yeah.
Well, folks, it's been a wonderful race to have you here tonight, and of course, Loudon did not disappoint. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being here with 5 years of Monday Night Skippys on RaceSpotTV. 5 years and 1 day, to be precise, but it's a Monday, so it counts. Thanks for seeing us tonight. We'll see you next week.